Hi guys, I got another video. I like saying that, it's funny. This one I heard in my sleep. I heard, I'm talking parables because Uncle Algorithm is listening. Um, Shiny yellow rocks. And read between the lines, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I heard the name of what yellow shiny rocks is. And then I heard Texas. I said, okay, this is really interesting. And, sorry, kind of stuck with me. So here we go. Texas, Trifecta. They have their own power grid, separate from all the other ones, the western and the northern and the eastern one, and I don't know if there's a southeast one, but I know Texas has their own grid. They have their own resources in terms of oil fields. And the other thing is they have a repository to hold their yellow shiny rocks, which kind of makes them pretty independent, which, talk to any Texan and very independent spirit. I was looking at their declaration, it's like their constitution, when the civil conflict that happened in the late 1800s, they pulled away from the rest of the group. I'm avoiding certain words just so I don't get tagged, because of certain things that were being done that were unconstitutional by the North group. And so the Southern group decided, hey, wait a minute, no, states are sovereign, and we're not going for that, So, but when they rejoined, they put in a clause, basically saying, okay, we're going to join back in, but we reserve the right that if we don't like what you're doing, we're pulling back out and going independent again. So, I found that really interesting because they have the infrastructure to do that. So then I was wondering, man, they're getting battered by these winter storms, snow. Snow in an area where it doesn't really go. So then I started to look at going, why? Some people say it's nature. I'd say silver iodine. And you can look it up. And, Tesla talked about frequencies and vibrations. So I'm thinking, why are they getting hammered just because of this weird anomaly? Well, which state started filing lawsuits last year and beginning of this year before January 20th? And they're still pending. Okay, so retaliation, getting punished, getting hammered, so then I'm thinking, how could they do this? Well, Southern California out in the desert, next week on Monday, it's going to be like in the 80s in February. This is not normal either. So create a hot spot, and the cold air is supposed to come down through Washington, Oregon, and into California, through Arizona, New Mexico, and then loops back up because there's usually a high pressure, in Texas. Well, the high pressure is over in California. Well, that stops the cold air from coming down in, so it goes up and around the high pressure and then comes back down and hits Texas. That's not normal. None of this is normal. I would say it's biblical. I also think that man has a hand in it, and Father God's allowing it. So now we know, okay, there's a hot spot. Well, how do you create a hot spot? Take your microwave burrito, stick it in the microwave, push burrito button, right? And it gets hot. Well, how does it get hot? Okay, frequencies are like water, like a wave. Okay, and I'm going to give a little understanding, some knowledge. The faster they vibrate, the more heat they produce. Long waves, short waves, okay? Microwaves operate at a very high speed. So they excite the water molecules inside the burrito, the moisture, and they start to move faster. That creates heat, okay? It also destroys nutrients and vitamins. So that's how it heats. Well, say you've got a huge microwave gun or cannon, because that's basically what's in a microwave. It's shielded, has a microwave gun that shoots in, you know, and bounces all around, and wherever there's water molecules, they get excited, they move faster, they create heat. Say you did this overhead, a satellite or a plane or something, and shoots out a microwave beam and down in the ground in a certain area. There's water, there's moisture, it's gonna heat up, okay? So you create this artificial heat bubble, heat pressure. Well, when there's pressure, water finds the easiest way to flow. So if there's a obstruction, it goes around it. Well, this is what I see happening with the jet stream. The jet stream is being manipulated, and what does the jet stream do? It moves cold air, okay? And it goes to low pressure. Where there's low pressure, the water moves. Where there's high pressure, the water avoids. Okay, got that. So they're moving the jet stream and dumping snow into Texas. Texas is not prepared for this kind of scenario. Why is the power grid going down? Well, you know, all of this is happening in dream and understanding being given to me. And I was shown that the power grid is like a spider web, right? And all tentacles out, like an octopus has tentacles. And you see each little sucker on the tentacles. Well, the power grid's kind of the same way, but they have substations. So it's one big grid, and it passes out to all these little cities, towns. They all have their own little substations. Then you have substation going into each little neighborhood, right? So there's steps. Well, if you take away all the steps and remove the substations, you have just one big massive grid with one big switch, and you know, it gets overloaded. Or you flip the switch, whatever. You know, can't handle it. But then, you know, the whole design was, okay, we take the power and we shoot it to the substations, and the substations shoot it to different cities, and the cities go to different neighborhoods. You know, different neighborhoods. Well, then it's localized so that if the power goes down in one little area, it's only one small little thing. You fix a transformer or whatever goes wrong, put in a new one, flip the switch back on, you're good. You know, a couple hours versus a couple days or a couple weeks. So it's redundancy. When you remove those fail-safes, then you create a situation of oops, right? No oops, planned, you know? And somebody had to give the order, who's ever in charge, to the power structure to do these things, to create a situation of failure. And then it was shown to me like a Titanic disaster or submarine, right? In a ship, they have bulkheads. And what is a bulkhead? It's a huge steel wall with a door. And the door has a big seal on it with big handles on it. You lock it down. It's airtight. And they make these compartments in a ship. Now, if you wanted to sink a ship, you'd leave all these doors open, bulkheads, and the water would just rush through. Say you hit something in the bow or the stern, and the water just rushes all through the whole ship, and it sinks really fast. Yeah, think of the Queen Mary's sister ship. I won't name names. So, in the sense, power grid has substations. Substations are like these bulkheads with these doors. You close all the doors, and if one part of the ship gets flooded, the rest of the water doesn't go into the other plates. They're airtight, and the ship stays afloat. Well, kind of like, you know, all these substations taken out of the way, and poof. Okay, takes down the grid. That's their power structure. Okay, where else can you hurt Texas from being basically independent, being able to support yourself? Well, they have oil fields. And the oil fields is natural resource, right? They can use it to create electricity, to power their cars, to do a lot of things, to make rubbers and plastics and everything else, right? See, you don't need to import it. They have the resource. A certain company, Midland, or a city, which I thought was interesting, the name of it, Midland, which is in the middle, in the midst of the land, which Texas is in the middle, but on the south, right? The oil wells are being purchased by an entity that's outside of the United States. I would think that would be somewhat of a national security, but, an interest of something, So now you're taking away, the power grid is down, and the natural resources are being controlled by somebody else. Okay, so now those two things are being crippled or taken away, whatever. What's the last thing that they had, control over or substantiated in terms of security? Yellow rocks. They have their own repository, and you can look it up, see what that means. But they have their own resource of yellow rocks. So yellow rocks, power, and natural resources, right? That pretty much would make a state form their own country. I mean, if they really wanted to, and legally, it's possible. So, I was trying to think of and this came to me in the dream as well. It's like, well, what happened in 2001 in the 9th month on a certain day? And here we go in parables. 2 trees of identical height on an island on the East Coast. One fell, and then the next one fell, right? And what I understood, there was under the trees somebody buried down by the roots and hid their shiny yellow rocks, okay? And there was a small little tree on the side, and it had a number 7 on it. That fell as well, okay? So, when the trees were falling, right before they started to fall, somebody went and dug up all the yellow rocks and took them and hid them somewhere else. Well, that weakened the 2 trees, and the 2 trees fell. The problem is, some of those shiny yellow rocks didn't belong to the people that moved it. Some of them belonged to another country on a different continent, and they wanted their shiny yellow rocks. Well, they didn't get their shiny yellow rocks. They were offered a piece of paper instead. And they said, no, I want our shiny yellow rocks. So while these things were falling, the trees were falling, and everybody was focusing on these trees falling, the shiny yellow rocks that were underneath were taken. Now, Texas, power grid goes down, the natural resources are being controlled by somebody else. I would put my eye on the repository. Is somebody taking the shiny little rocks while everything is frozen over or controlled by somebody else? This was all part of this whole dream. And it wasn't really a dream. It was just kind of like I'd see images, of the ship, and I'd see images of the bulkheads being open or closed, and whether water could flow through it. I saw the 2 trees and the shiny yellow rocks, and it all relates back to Texas. Texas and the Trifecta, the 3. Okay? Now, they're called the Lone Star State for a particular reason. And they had the last stand at the, come on, you know it. If you don't, Google it, right? And there was famous people there. Davy Crockett, you know, and some other people. So, is this synonymous to what's happening? You know, to take down, like Jesus said, a little leaven leavens the whole bunch, right? A little bit of yeast affects all of the bread. So if you take down the middle, because right now, power grid's affecting all up and down, from the south to the north, from North Dakota all the way down to the south, and even the other country just south of the border is complaining about being taken down and not having power, right? So if you take the middle, the sides fold together, right? And I'm just making an analogy of the play, the plan of what they're trying to do. You know, if you take away somebody's right to speak, right to defend themselves, and the right to have freedom, independence, liberty, you know, happiness, well, it goes under control of somebody that you don't agree with or don't want to, you know, follow or do, you know, or have these restraints. So I see West Coast, East Coast, Texas in the middle. Jesus says he's coming in the midst. And evil is trying to use the midst to pull down any strongholds of independence. So that's my dream. Tip my hat to you guys in Texas. And I'm praying for you. Hope everything gets fixed, because the whole country needs you guys, and you need us. Love you, praying for you. See you in the next video. And don't forget, out of all this stuff that's happening in the world, Yeshua, the Son of God, is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one goes to the Father except by him. No one gets access to the Father except through him. He is the way. He is the truth. He died on the cross, shed his blood for you, for me, for everyone. Right? Why? Because man sinned and was disobedient. And the punishment of being disobedient is death. Adam died, we died. That is the punishment. Now Jesus Yeshua shed his blood on that cross to make that payment, because God said payment for sin is death. The atonement of sin, meaning the payment to satisfy that punishment and debt. When you commit a crime and you're convicted, then you're punished and you pay your debt to society and you're released, right? Was the blood of an innocent lamb. Now, Son of God is the innocent lamb. And he did it. He paid the price that we couldn't in order to set us free. So he took on our disobedience or sin so that we may be imputed, or his righteousness covers us by the blood and the water. After 3 days, he rose again in a glorified body, because hell and death could not hold him. He laid down his life willingly. He picked it up again, and Father granted that to him. And now all authority is given to him under heaven and earth. And you can choose to disobey and reject, and you send yourself to hell. Or you can humble your heart, set your pride aside, come to Father God through his Son, and say, save me. And he's faithful to do it. but won't force it on you. You choose, so that the onus or the blood, your blood, is on your hands, where you want to be and who you want to be with for all eternity. You can be with God in heaven. He's going to create a new heaven and a new earth. And then that new heaven and new earth, no more Lucifer, no more Satan, no more death, no more war, no more hate, no more pain, no more struggle, no more suffering. Joy, love, and happiness. That's what he's offering, right? In a new heaven and a new earth, walking and talking with him, your God, your creator, if you want it. But it's through him, by him, and for him. So, love you guys. Choose life instead of death. See you in the next video.